Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo, with your host, Patrick Moran.
A Buffalo Bills, Houston Texans preview, some keys to the game for the Buffalo Bills, a handful of bowl predictions, score prediction, all that and more coming up on today's episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo sports talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Big thank you to everyone out there, as always, for watching and for listening, for following and subscribing. You guys are the best. I truly appreciate y'all very, very much. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know, I think we're going to have a bonus episode tomorrow. Tomorrow being, for most of you who are listening or watching this on Friday, being Saturday. We'll do some last minute Bills Houston stuff. Also have a recap of the Sabres season opener. They are opening their season Friday afternoon overseas, of course, against the New Jersey Devils. So I think we're going to drop a bonus episode on Saturday. However, it's going to be an audio only episode. So going back to what I said on yesterday's show, I'll repeat this again today. If you are subscribed on the Talking Buffalo YouTube channel, first of all, thank you very much. That channel now has a little bit over 2,000 subscribers. That's fantastic. And again, I appreciate that. But if you are subscribed on the video side, I mean, you're going to get most of our full-length episodes on YouTube. You're going to start getting some exclusive content that will be on YouTube only, some commentary, some reaction to big news, some other features. So we're going to do some really cool, unique stuff on the YouTube channel. So make sure you continue to be subscribed for that. But if you enjoy the show, if you want to support Talking Buffalo, the best way to do it is to subscribe on the audio side as well. So even if you already are subscribed on the video side, if you need to, hit pause real quick on this video. Go to Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to other podcasts. And if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed, because that is going to be the only place, the audio side, where you're guaranteed to get every single episode of Talking Buffalo in its entirety, as well as some bonus episodes, some emergent pods, stuff like that. That will be audio only. So if you haven't done so already, please make sure you do that. Thank you again. As for this game, look, Buffalo Bills, Houston Texans this Sunday. This is a very, very spicy matchup. This is something that many of us circled on the calendar the day the NFL schedule came out. And even just if you take away the Stefon factor, this is still a really juicy game. Fans want to watch this game. If you're, if your team and your market is playing at a different time, and you're not stuck watching them, or if they're on a bye, or you're just, not a fan of any one specific team, I feel like this is the matchup that the nation really wants to see. 2 years ago, the Houston Texans were trash, picking second in the draft. 1 year later, they win the AFC South, and they win a home playoff game. So this is a very good team, and they're good again this season. That in itself is plenty enticing enough to want to watch this game. And then you throw in the Stefon Diggs factor. I mean, come on. This essentially is must-see TV this weekend. I want to start, as I did last week, or I should say earlier this week. I kind of want to do this again. It's something I'm trying to get in a habit of, and that's starting with some general big picture perspective. I've been trying to do a lot more of that lately. I am a self-admitted, and even if I don't admit it myself, you guys let me know anyway, a major overreactor, a knee-jerk reactor, so to speak. When the Bills are firing on all cylinders like they did for the majority of the 3 weeks, you get the mindset that this team is never going to lose a game again. Then they go out and play like they did in Baltimore on Sunday, and now this team sucks, and they ain't never going to win a game again. They're done. The Jets are going to win the AFC East. I'm trying to stay more balanced and even keel here. So I like to try to start these type of episodes with some perspective. And that's this. Right now, the Buffalo Bills are 3-1. And they're facing the second of three consecutive, very, very tough road games. And we knew this was coming. Again, the day the schedule was released, this was the anticipation. The Bills are going to go on the road weeks 3, 4, and 5. I'm sorry, weeks 4, 5, and 6, and have a very, very tough stretch. Even with the beating that the Bills took in Baltimore on Sunday, let's be real clear about this. As important as this game feels, this is a big fight feel. The season is not on the line on Sunday. You lose this game on Sunday, and then you go out the next week and you beat the New York Jets in New Jersey on Monday Night Football, you're coming back to Orchard Park Tuesday morning at 4-2, and you've already beaten both Miami and the Jets. So losing this game or winning this game is not life or death for the 2024 Buffalo Bills campaign. So let's be clear about that. However, this is the second of that three-leg trip here. And if you do lose all of them, if you lose this game Sunday, and then you follow it up and you lose on Monday Night Football against the Jets, now you're 3-3. You've lost 3 in a row to 3 good teams on the road. And that panic button may be starting to get tapped a little bit. You know, the Bills are a team, they got off to a good start, but they're faltering already. They can't win on the road. They can't beat legitimate good teams. They cannot overcome good quarterbacking. Those are the questions you're going to hear if you lose both of the next 2 games. Now, of course, if the Bills could go out on Sunday and they beat Houston, that panic, those questions are going to go away. Even if they were to lose to the Jets. To me, it's always been about being 4-2 after 6 games. I thought that would be the goal, and I still think that's the goal. When they got to 3-0, my mindset was simple. Not popular, but this is how I felt. You got this tough 3-game road stretch, go get you one. Because if you go get one for sure, worst case, you're 4-2. And of course, you want to pick, if you can only win one, as fun as this game's going to be this weekend, it's the Jets game that you won't want to win most of all. But anyway, my point is this. We're a month into the season now, and a team that was in transition, a team that many felt, especially on a national level, that was going to take a step back, perhaps a significant step back, a team that a lot of people thought were at best the second best team in the AFC East, at worst the third best team in this division. And we're a month into the season, and the Buffalo Bills are 3-1. And they are 3-1 primarily for 2 big reasons. Number one, the quarterback. I mean, you are getting MVP caliber quarterback play right now from Josh Allen, who has not thrown a touchdown. I'm sorry, he's not thrown an interception a full month into the season. We don't just take that in Buffalo. He won AFC Offensive Player of the Month. That was named on Thursday. So the league agrees with that. Josh Allen is playing at an MVP caliber level. Going into the season, for the Bills to be successful, I'm sure most, if not all people, would have agreed. For the Bills to be good, Josh Allen is going to have to play at an MVP or MVP caliber level. That is precisely what he's done through the first month of the season. So that's one of the 2 reasons. The other one is this. I think Sean McDermott and his staff, led, of course, by both his coordinators, Joe Brady, Bobby Babich, I feel like they coached circles around Gannon when they played Arizona, McDaniel when they played Miami, Peterson when they played Jacksonville. The tables got turned on this staff, and we've already talked about that. Not really going to get into that today, but 3 of those first 4 games, those first 3 weeks, you're getting MVP caliber quarterback play, and you're getting MVP, I guess you want to call it, for most valuable coaching from Sean McDermott and his staff. I thought that was a big, big difference in the Arizona, Miami, and Jacksonville game. The coaching was great. So those are the 2 reasons why you feel like the Bills are 3-1 right now. And quite frankly, that's covered up a lot of deficiencies that kind of plague this roster as a whole. We already know about wide receiver. We already know about safety play. We talk about that a ton. Furthermore, I feel like the run defense has been pretty awful. I don't feel that way. It is awful. They are dead last right now, the Bills. Dead last in the entire NFL in yards per carry allowed. Dead last. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, they got shredded against Miami. Take that game away. Well, I'll tell you what. Even if you took away the Baltimore game, a game when Derrick Henry ran for 199 yards, a game where the Ravens ran for 271 yards. You want to take that away? Okay, let's take it away. 76 carries, 355 yards, 4.7 yards per carry. That's what the Bills have given up in their other 3 games this season. 4.7 yards per carry. That's terrible. It still blows my mind, like weeks later now. How when we played Arizona and Gannon and Mike McDaniel, when we played Miami, how they just got away from the run so quickly. They borderline abandoned the run. It just, again, first 3 weeks of the season to me was all about coaching as much as the quarterback. There's lots of factors with that. They're playing a nickel defense, of course. It's built to give up some rushing yards. You shouldn't expect the Bills to be near the top of the NFL in rush defense when you got a nickel back out there 95% of the time. And then speaking of that nickelback, Teron Johnson is an all-pro, and he's so good in that role that it's almost like having a third linebacker out there. But he got hurt very early in the season, week 1. You've had an injury to True Bernard early in the Miami game. He hasn't been back yet. So that's a factor. Maybe you're not getting as, strong as run support from the safeties, Damar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp as you did, even though they had flaws, especially near the end of their careers here in Buffalo. But Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, I feel like, were much better in run support. So that's a factor. I do like Cole Bishop. Having said that, more on him in a few. I think he might help that unit when it comes to stopping the run. But anyway, to me, primarily when you talk about, the Bills' run defense has been pretty awful this year. It starts at defensive tackle. It starts right dead smack in the middle of the defense. Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones. They're just not playing that good. It's as simple as that. That's where it starts. And Ed Oliver is too important to this team. And he's paid too well, $17 million. Now I know that's nowhere near the top of the market, but that's still well paid. And he's too critical to this team to just be decent. Because that's what Ed Oliver has been through 4 weeks. And I'm kind of almost being generous saying decent. Quite frankly, in my opinion, he was a beast against Miami. He was literally non-existent in Baltimore and Arizona, and he was a guy out there. He was all right against Jacksonville. He was decent. He needs to be better than that. And I got accused, I shared this on social media on Thursday, I got accused of being an Ed Oliver hater, which, I don't know, maybe I am to some extent, but if I is, it's because I hold him to a higher standard. He's a top 10 pick. He's an anchor on this defense. Again, he's well paid. He's a core player. I need him to be more than just all right. So I hold him to a higher standard than I would an AJ Epinesa or like a Spencer Brown or somebody like that. I hold him to one of the highest standards on his team. And too often he's not playing that way. So, I got to, again, being a hater and having these unhinged rants on Ed Oliver. Quite frankly, and look, I agree with a lot of criticism. Sometimes I think it's funny. Sometimes I even think it's accurate. But in this case, I don't think I'm being unhinged at all when I criticize Ed Oliver. He's almost like an all or nothing player. He's either, or this is an all pro level Ed Oliver, or Ed Oliver ain't shown up tonight. It seems to be one or the other with him almost all the time. And as far as battery mate, look, man, I love Daquan Jones. I went to bat for this. I was all about. In fact, I think I might have said that he was my number 1 priority this offseason to resign, which they did, of course. Very happy. But, man, a year makes a pretty big difference. 1 year ago, this time, 4 weeks into the season, we're discussing Daquan Jones as the Bills' defensive MVP. A month into this season, he has been just another dude who's out there, man. I mean, he's not really making plays, and I get it. He's a DT. He's not supposed to fill up the box score. I know that. although he did kind of fill up the box score the first month a year ago. But even watching the all 22, man, it's just he's getting taken out by single blockers way too often and not really being a disruptor in the lanes in the running game. He's just not doing much of anything right now, to be honest with you. So it starts to me with the defensive tackles. They need to be better. Overall as a team, like I said, they're just Josh Allen's play, Sean McDermott's coaching is covering up some other things. The Bills are really good in some areas with rankings, but not a ton. Offensively, they're still second in scoring. They're third in red zone. That's awesome. Just fourth in sacks allowed, or fourth best, I should say. That's good. They're ninth in passing yards per play. That's great. But they're just 20 in yards. They're 24th in rushing yards. They're rushing yards per play, I should say. They're only 21st in the league in third down conversions. Defensive side of the ball, they're third best in the league, in passing yards per play. That's really good, but they're only 23rd in the league and getting off on third downs. By the way, you heard both sides of it. Bills haven't been really good on third downs this year. Hasn't mattered in 3 of the 4 weeks, but that's something to know going forward. Middle of the pack in yards allowed per game. Injury front for this week going into this game, kind of a mixed bag. Von Miller, of course, is suspended. We've already talked about him. That sucks. That's I don't know if it was unexpected to the team. It's unexpected to us who cover the team. We were talking about the team anyway. A big loss for the next 4 weeks. Teron Johnson has been very limited from what I understand in practice on Thursday. I've seen a couple videos. I don't think he's going to play on Sunday. I wouldn't be surprised, depending on when you hear this on Friday, if he's not already ruled out. I'd like to be wrong, but I'm not optimistic that he'll be back based on what I've heard and what I've seen this week. Khalil Shakir did not practice Wednesday and Thursday. That is a scary thought for an offense that, again, doesn't really have a lot of reliable pass catchers right now. He's got the ankle. I would say I'm not quite as worried about Shakir as I would be, say, Teron Johnson, because maybe they're just Shakir knows what to do. If he's physically ready to play, he'll be out there. They're just hopefully giving the ankle a little more time to rest. But again, it's a long season still, and if he's not ready to play, he's not going to be forced out there. Austin Johnson and oblique, not out there at practice at all this week so far, so I wouldn't count on him. Taylor Rapp did not practice on Thursday as well. Concussion protocol. I'd be stunned if he plays. Of note, Ed Oliver had some kind of hamstring issue at practice on Thursday. He was on the report as limited. Some videos of trainers working on him, so that at least is something to monitor. Good news, Deion Dawkins, who missed Wednesday, has a hamstring issue. He was back practicing on Thursday, so that looks really good for him playing. And then hopefully a big boost to the defense. Terrell Bernard, watch some videos. He looks like he's ready to cook. I would be surprised, barring a setback, I would fully expect Terrell Bernard to be back. And obviously that will be a tremendous boost to the defense. Last thing that I kind of want to talk about with the Bills, again, keeping this whole perspective thing. Look, there's a lot of changes on this defense right now because of injury. And the offense has got so many different parts, especially when it comes to pass catchers. Patience. And that's something that I'm not really good at. Maybe a lot of you, if you're being honest with yourself or watching or listening, maybe the same with you. But all these new receivers, Shakir's the only receiver who's even back from last year. Joe Brady's first full offseason, I should say, as offensive coordinator going into this year. It takes time for chemistry and things to gel. And we're still early in the season, relatively early anyway. And they're 3-1, so need to have a little more patience. And again, the changes, by the way, Cole Bishop, I mentioned him earlier. I think he's going to play. I think he's going to start because Taylor Rapp will be out this week. I actually think that's going to be an upgrade. I like Cole Bishop. So do the Bills. They took him in the second round for a reason. And I think he's going to be better in run support. I think he's going to fill gaps better than Taylor Rapp or DeMar Hamlin. And I think that maybe when Rapp is back, if Bishop looks good, I don't think he comes out of the lineup. Maybe he goes to free safety And I don't think he comes out of lineup. So this is a great opportunity for Bishop. I think Mike Edwards is going to be active this week. He has been active since week 1. I'd like to see him take some reps from DeMar Hamlin. I want to see how he looks out there in a game. Ultimately, because of unfortunate injury to Rapp, this gets Edwards up. This gets Bishop in the starting lineup, I think, anyway. And I think ultimately Edwards and Bishop is their better safety tandem. And maybe we'll start to see that as early as Sunday. But again, back to that patience thing with the offense. We have to remember how new it is. You shouldn't expect everything to click so easily and so quickly, which makes it all the more amazing that 1 month into a season with a brand new offense and all this talent that they lost on offense and their center, that they're, the phone's ringing here. Forgot to turn the phone off. Anyway, with all this new talent here on the offense, it's remarkable, even more remarkable that Josh Allen wins AFC Offensive Player of the Month in his first month with all these new pieces. But you know, and by we, I also include myself, a little quick to jump on Curtis Samuel, although I do expect more, but you got to have some confidence. Joe Brady will figure that out. Keon Coleman doing some good things, doing some really stupid things off the field, apparently a couple of weeks ago. And then he had a really terrible drop in Baltimore, but he's also done some good things. Pretty raw rookie. Hopefully he keeps growing each week. Where I'm not as confident in is MVS and Matt Collins. Like, man, hopefully they figure out a way to make MVS become a factor because, I mean, he does have a history in this league. I know he has a history of drops, but he's got a history of making some plays too. And we just haven't seen any of that. And I kind of feel like Matt Collins is what most of us, expected him to be, which is a blocker, a special teams guy, and not too much in the passing game. Anyway, we'll take a real quick break, come back on the other side, and we'll get into the Houston Texans, and then we'll get into some keys of the game for the Bills and some bold predictions. All right, I am back here previewing the Buffalo Bills, Houston Texans. I completely forgot to turn my phone off before the breaker. That's why you heard it go off, completely caught me by surprise. Anyway, all right, Houston Texans. Look, Houston is 3-1 right now, albeit not, I wouldn't say it's the most impressive ever 3-1 record. They've won a lot of games, close games against not great teams. They beat the Colts, but only by 2. They beat Chicago by 6. They beat Jacksonville last week by 4 in a game. Now, I watched a lot of it, and honestly, Houston could have easily lost that game. They were down in the second half, and Jacksonville was inside the 5-yard line to go up 2 scores. They got stymied inside the 2 and came away with nothing, ultimately lost that game. And then their one loss, they just went to Minnesota 2 weeks ago and got shellacked 34-7. That was just an ugly game for them. As a team, they're good. And they're 8th in yards per game right now. They're in the middle of the pack, points per game. They're averaging 19.8 points per game. They're just 20th in offensive DVOA. They're 5th in defense yards per game. They're 6th in defensive DVOA. So they technically have been actually a little better on defense this year than offense, even though they're known as an offensive team with a lot of really good offensive talent. Of course, that's led by CJ Stroud. He's thrown in 139 times already. He's got over 1,000 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, but he's also been picked twice already this year. I don't have 2 years ago or last year's stats in front of me. I think he might have only done like 2 or 3 interceptions the entire season last year. He's already been picked twice. I saw Marcus Williams also drop for an interception he should have had last week. So he's made some mistakes, and he holds on to the ball for a while too. Like he's vulnerable to getting sacked. I think he's been sacked 13 times already this season as well. When they throw the ball, you know who they got on the other, on the Houston Texans, but not even their best player. Nico Collins is a beast, man. He's a stud. He has become one of the best wide receivers in the entire NFL. He's got 30 catches already this year for 489 yards, which is by far the most in the NFL. So you got him. You got Tank Dell returning. He did not play last week. He's got a rib injury, but he's been practicing this week. So He'll be out there, a big boost to the Houston offense. Then look, you got old friend Stefon Diggs, who's been pretty good with Houston. He's not the featured guy, but he's still a featured guy. 25 catches so far this year for 233 yards. For those of you who are wondering, over 17 games, that's a pace for over 100 catches again. He's on pace for 106 catches, 990 yards. And those are just the main guys. They also got Dalton Schultz, a really good tight end who really hasn't done shit, though, so far this year. Another former Bill, Robert Woods. It's just a very stacked offense. Now, what's good for the Bills is Houston's offense is even better when Joe Mixon is out there running the football. He was AFC Offensive Player of the Week, week 1. I remember that because I was making an argument that it should have been Josh. But Mixon ran for $150 against, I believe, was Indy week 1, and he won 2 touchdowns, and he won it. But he's missed the last 2 games with an injury, and he has not practiced Wednesday or Thursday this week. So there's a good chance that he's going to miss this game. Ditto for Dameon Pierce. He has not practiced this week. So you're likely going to see in the running game a lot of Cam Akers. To me, that's good news for a Buffalo Bills defense, which we talked about. Is not very good in the run, especially against bigger physical running backs, which Joe Mixon certainly is, in a run defense base, where without Taron Johnson, you got Cam Lewis out there, who, and I like Cam, but he was awful in Baltimore. So that's a significant piece of injury news for Houston. So it's not just the Bills that have been hampered by injuries. Defensive side of the ball, they're led by Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, 2 very, very, very good defensive edge guys. Yet another former Buffalo Bill, Tim Settle, who was, I don't want to say he was a disaster in Buffalo for 2 years, but man, he was just so irrelevant. Like, my expectations for him were much, much higher. Anyway, he's played well with Houston, and he's had 2 sacks already this season. They got a deep, talented defensive line, the Houston Texans do. They got 2 really good corners. So Derek Stingley Jr. is a really good corner. Kamari Lester, he ain't bad either. I kind of feel like, just like last week when the Bills were going into the Ravens game, where the Ravens would be most susceptible would be like that middle of the field. I kind of feel that's the same deal with the Houston Texans. Their safeties, the linebackers, especially with Christian Harris on IR, they're nothing to brag about. Like, there's yards to gain. There's football to control in those areas with the Houston Texans. Look, too, real quick here. I can't help this. Before getting into what I would consider like the Bills' keys to victory, a quick little detour here, because this really bothers the shit out of me. And it has probably zero bearing on the game, but it's still really just annoying as hell to hear it this week. I'm hearing it nationally, obviously coming out of Houston. The narrative that the Bills were like the bad guys in Stefon Diggs' divorce. Like, they sucked all the joy out of Stefon Diggs' life. They made his life miserable, and now he could finally be happy because he escaped Buffalo and he's with Houston. Like, this is the Stefon Diggs or the Houston revenge game. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Really? I read a direct quote from CJ Stroud on Wednesday or Thursday. He said, I'm glad that he being Stefon, I'm glad he's finally having fun playing the game and doing what he loves to do because he loves football a lot. Okay. I mean, look, dude, this guy was here for 4 years. He had 4 seasons of 100 catches. He had literally the 4 most productive single season receiving campaigns in the history of the Buffalo Bills. He had more catches than anybody in the NFL during that span. Right near the top in targets, too. You know what, having any fun, though? He was like in jail playing for the Bills or something? It's freaking nutso to me. It's nuts how a narrative could be created that this is the Stefon Diggs revenge game. How about this? Let's keep it real. And I'll preface this by saying I'm no Stefon Diggs hater, man. I like Stefon Diggs. I loved him with the Bills. Arguably the best receiver that's ever stepped foot onto a field for the Bills in the stadium, at Highmark Stadium, Ralph Wilson Stadium, Rich Stadium, whatever the hell you want to call it. Liked the guy, liked his personality. I thought he was an authentic dude, and I respect the hell out of him. No hate from me in my heart for Stefon Diggs. But this whole narrative that he had to escape Buffalo and that he could be happy is fucking stupid. It's dumb. This is a guy who, and he might not have been wrong. Let me say that too. A lot of this he was probably in the right for. An issue with his head coach, a very tumultuous at times relationship with his quarterback, even though they both continue to say the right things, and a guy who it's pretty well known wanted out of Buffalo. He wanted the fresh start. He wanted to get out of here. He got traded. The Bills ate cap money to get rid of this guy. In part because they wanted to go in a different direction offensively, but also in part because the juice wasn't worth the squeeze with him anymore. And you're going to tell me this is a Stefon Diggs revenge game? Shit. To me, this is just as much a Bills revenge game. Go to Houston, hold Stefon Diggs to a so-so game and go get the W. This is a Bills revenge game just as much. Just a dumb narrative, and it really pisses me off. Anyway, all right, to wrap up here, keys of the game for the Bills. This one goes without saying. They need to get off to a better start because last week in Baltimore is just unacceptable. They don't score. They punt on their first possession, and bam, 87-yard touchdown, and they're down. All kinds of shit going wrong. They're now 14-3. Before you know it, it's like 21-3. Houston is way too good of a football team to be up that much, and then you're letting Hunter and you're letting Will Anderson pin their ears back, get after Josh. It could be a very, very, very long day if that happens. You can't. You got to weather the storm like really, really early. And by weather the storm, I mean before opening kickoff. Going into that environment, it's going to be loud. The roof's going to be closed. Who cares? You got to get off to a better start. Score first. You know, last week I hated when the Bills hit the ball because now I'm all into the double dip thing. Screw that. Get the ball first again, but this time don't punt on 4th and a yard and a half. Get up on the board quick. Let them know that you mean business. So get off to a better start. That's huge. Running the ball, it's there. I think this is a great opportunity for this to be a James Cook game. Statistically, Houston's just 30th in the league in rush defense EPA and 28th in success rate. So this is a team that's not really good at stopping the run, just like the Bills aren't really good at stopping the run. This could be a game where both teams have a lot of success running the football. So I'm running the ball early and often, and I'm looking to get a big game out of the Bills running back, especially James Cook. I want to see the Bills defensive tackles, assuming that's going to play, but no matter who it is, take advantage of a suspect Houston interior offensive line. You know, Juice Scruggs at center, Shaq Mason at right guard. They're just okay. Statistically, PFF grade-wise, analytically, they've been all right. Kenyon Green's been anything but good at left guard. He's vulnerable. He's beatable out there. So this needs to be a game. You know, I say Ed has these games where he disappears, and then he has games where he's one of the best players on the field. This needs to be one of those games for the latter, which historically, by the way, a Houston guy, a Texas guy, Ed plays well in Texas. So that, if assuming his hamstrings are right, that bodes well for the Buffalo Bills. And it's not just Ed. I don't want to just put it on Ed. You know, Daquan has to be better as well. Dwayne Carter is going to get opportunities. He needs to be good. The kid they just picked up from Atlanta, he might actually be in uniform. In fact, he probably will be in uniform on Sunday because it does not look like Austin Johnson with his oblique will be playing. So it's still primarily on Ed and Daquan, though, man. You got to, and they're going to play a lot of snaps, I would suspect, as opposed to two rookies who are going to be behind them. So be effective. You have to. I mentioned it earlier, get into CJ Stroud. As good as he is, he's been dumped 13 times in 4 games. And even with Alvon Miller, Groot, who was AFC Defensive Player of the Week already this season, but, you know, he's been just okay since then. He needs to step up. AJ Vanessa, it'd be nice to see something out of Smoot. Javon Solomon could benefit from Vaughn Miller being out there. Maybe he steps into that, third down pass rushing role or obvious pass down situations role. He's got some juice there. This could be, a little bit of a coming out game for him. And then the last thing is, Curtis Samuel. It's time, man. Hey, man, Dawson Knox, by the way. They need to step up and do something. Dawson Knox just 3 catches this year for 30 yards. That's it for the season. Samuel, 8 catches for 47 yards, 2 carries for 7. Teams are going to double team Dalton Kincaid a lot. And even Shakir, both of them, more and more. These guys have got to start making you pay price for that. Talk about Samuel. I'm talking about Knox. And so far, they're not. So to me, those are keys. Got a couple bold predictions. I do this every week. Last week, I called for a Dawson Knox touchdown, and I'm done doing that. I've done it twice now this year. I'm 0 for 2 doing that. I did say that Justice Hill was going to be a problem for the Ravens, and he was. And then I said for the Bills, Ty Johnson was going to be a problem for the Ravens. Not really, although he did score a touchdown, the only touchdown in the game. This week, I'm going to go like this, all right? Here's a big one right off the bat. Player being active dependent, because I'm not even 100% sure they don't go somewhere else and that he's not even active. But assuming he is, I'm going to call for an MVS touchdown. And not just a touchdown, but I'm going to call for a touchdown of 30 yards or longer. Again, if he even plays, that's a bold prediction. I really don't know this next one, how bold it is, but I'm going to say it anyway. Stefon Diggs is scoring a touchdown. He's going to get in the end zone. He's going to be flex and yell, and the expressions all over his face in the end zone. It just feels inevitable to me. Like, it's going to happen. Houston will do everything on earth to make that happen. Like, they get inside the 10-yard line, the 5-yard line. They're going to design plays to get him in the end zone, whether it comes out of the backfield, running the football, which he actually scored on a run option pass for the Texans last week. He's getting in the end zone. I hate to say it, but he is. Rookie Dwayne Carter, next one. He's going to have, for the first time in his career now, 5 games in, he's going to have a game that matters. And he probably needs to, because, again, Austin Johnson is very likely not playing. Ed Oliver may be hampered. He's going to get snaps. He's got to do something with them. He's got to have meaningful snaps that matter. Ditto for Cole Bishop. Well, I believe it. I think he gets to start on Sunday, Cole. And you want a bold prediction? I'll give you one right here. Beyond just this game. Cole Bishop's going to start Sunday because of injury. Cole Bishop's done not being a starter after this game. I think Cole Bishop is your starter going forward. And then the last one. AJ Epinesa is going to make a key fourth quarter play, whether it's a sack, forced fumble, maybe even a tip, an interception. He's going to do something impactful for the Bills late in the game in the fourth quarter. All right, last thing here. Game pick. All right, I'm going to come clean with y'all. I am going with my heart a little more than my head right now. I have felt the Bills losing this week in my bones all week long. Losing this game creates a big stake, high pressure, even more pressure than it would be anyway, showdown with the Jets next Monday night. Stefon scoring, which I stuck with in my bold predictions. I've just had it in my bones pretty much all week that the Bills are going to lose. But I also have a vision where Buffalo pulls this game out. Houston is far from unbeatable. Again, all 3 of their wins this season have been by 6 points or less against teams that are not very good. So this is not an invincible team whatsoever. I think, unlike Baltimore, that this is a good physical matchup for the Bills and their style of play. And I think if James Cook can get at least 80 yards on the ground, Josh can do enough with the rest of the offense that the unit has a big offensive day, or at least big enough. I have felt all week that the first team to get to 27 or more points wins this game. And final prediction time, I'm going to say it's going to be the Bills. Final score prediction, Bills 29, Houston 24. So there you go. A 5-point victory for the Bills, thanks to an AJ Epinesa fourth quarter big play that kind of puts the Bills in position to go into Houston, steal this, and ruin the Stefon Diggs revenge game. Just freaking ridiculous. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. By the way, as you're listening to this, hopefully, whether it's late Thursday night or sometime Friday morning, don't forget the Sabres open their season 1 p.m. MSG. New Jersey Devils, they also play Saturday afternoon as well. I'm likely going to have a bonus audio only episode that drops overnight Friday into Saturday. So again, if you're already subscribed on the audio side, just look for it on your phone or wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're on YouTube, please also make sure that you go and you find us on the audio side and follow us there as well. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys as always. And I'll be back. New episode, like I said, probably a bonus episode coming tomorrow.